Welcome, investigator. Evil is on the rise. Crime is escalating. Our mission is to eliminate the crime by exposing evil, examine why it manifests, and highlight the brave souls that confront it every day. Join us as we work together to bring justice to every victim. Welcome to All Things Crime. Here's your host, Jared Bradley.
It's so interesting to me the whole reason that I started this podcast is because I've realized in the course of working with law enforcement and, over the last 10, 11 years, just how, I don't want to say clueless, but how
uninformed
few details people really understand about the investigative process, how people actually solve crime. But in the course of that, I've also come to realize that there's very few people that fully, maybe they don't recognize it, maybe they don't want to recognize it, and I'm sure there's a lot of that. But the level of evil that's out there, and the amount of pain and suffering and damage that one human can inflict on another human is something that I think most people maybe they just can't process it, and that's why they just kind of pretend that it's not happening. But when you're talking about even here in the United States, some of the murders and rapes and robberies and carjackings and especially so many problems that we're seeing now, how horrible that is. But then, Paul, what you just described to me, I appreciate you going through that, and I know it's probably even difficult to relive it. But to me, somebody that can actually do that to a child, I have two daughters, and the thought of one of my daughters being in a situation like that, there's no amount of pain that I wouldn't inflict on those people to get my daughter out of there. And I know that every single dad that is worth his weight in salt would be the same way. And so I guess my first question is how did you maintain composure and maintain your cover when going into those kind of situations? You see what's happening, and especially, the first time is probably you're just experiencing it. You're just hoping that you get out of there alive.
Well, and I'll tell you,
I imagine when you're
the very first,
go ahead.
The very first time I was face to face with the trafficker was in Cartagena, Colombia. I had gotten a call from the Homeland Security agent who said, "Paul, we found all these children down here, and there's more than 100 in the surrounding areas, and I think we can rescue them all in one day, and I'd like your help." And I said, "How much do you need?" He said, "Well, I need you. Can you be in Colombia in 2 days?" He said, "I have to have somebody who can negotiate a multi-million-dollar real estate deal with the traffickers." He said the head trafficker's got a piece of property he wants to develop into a child brothel, sex resort, hotel. He needs a few $1 million to make it happen. He said, our goal is to convince him that you'll fund it under one condition, that you'll have a party in a couple weeks. He calls all his other friends who are trafficking children. They bring their inventory together. And if you're happy with what he provides, then you'll consider his project. And so that's what the role is. And 2 days later, I'm in Colombia. I'm face to face with these people. And halfway through this meeting, one of the traffickers leans forward and he said, "Pablo, I have a gift for you." I said, "Really? What's your gift?" And he shows me his phone, and there's a picture of an 11-year-old girl on his phone. He said, "This is Princess. She's still a virgin. We just took delivery of some." Now, in the movie, that part was depicted by Tim handing me my driver a picture, and that's what made me change my mind and decide to do it. In reality, I was already there. I was already face to face with these guys. And it was a trafficker that showed me that picture, but that galvanized my commitment right there. And the Navy SEAL that was right behind me, because he was there as my real bodyguard and my show bodyguard. And because I was this wealthy guy that was going to fund their deal, he excuses himself. He goes, guys, I'm going to go walk around the restaurant. I'm going to just make sure everything's good. So he walks around, and later when we were debriefing, he said, that little girl that he showed you on the phone looked much like my own daughter at home. He said, I almost unholstered my weapon and just took him out right there. He said, I knew that if we did, though, that we would lose those kids, the rest of them, and because we wouldn't know where they were. And when he showed me that picture and said, we just took delivery, I realized if we could get these kids out before they were ever raped the first time, that would be a miracle. And something he said made me realize he had more than her. I said, Fuego, I said, you have more virgins? Oh yeah, I got 3 or 4 more. I said, you have to bring those to the party. I'm very interested in those. We had to get them out too. He goes, oh no. He said, they're too expensive. Too expensive. I'm already paying $25,000 for this party, paying $500 per child for 50 children just for 2 hours in the afternoon with them. He says, Jefe, you already paid $25,000. You want to F these other virgins. It's going to cost you maybe $2,000, maybe $5,000 for that little one. It's going to cost you maybe $10,000 more. That's the kind of conversation we're having. And he's talking about these children like they're commodities. I was so mad. I've got a really nice shirt on. I've got a really expensive cufflinks, right? I've got a really nice watch. And I'm like, you don't think I can afford an extra? Because I was playing that role of the guy who can come down, right? I'm like, put my hands on my chest. I'm like, you don't think I can afford an extra $10,000? He goes, oh no, Jefe, no. I said, I want I was literally mad. I wasn't pretending mad. I said, I want every one of those virgins at the party. And they damn well better be virgins when they get there. They're not for you. They're for me and my guys. You understand? He's oh, Jefe, I understand. This stupid smile on his face. Now, the female trafficker, the one that's in the movie that had the modeling agency, she objects at this point. Now, this part of the conversation was more in Spanish because she didn't speak in English. My Spanish sucks, so it was translated. But what she said is, "Oh no, we can't bring those virgins." And I'm like, "Why? Why not?" And for a minute, we thought that she had a heart, that she had some kind of compassion there. And she said, "Well, we just got them. They're not ready." They're not ready. What do you mean? Well, we have to show them pornography. We have to let them watch live sex acts. We'll probably have to give them some drugs. Otherwise, they're going to cry. But if you're okay if they cry, then I'm okay if they come. There was no compassion there. It was her worrying that them crying would affect my guests at the party. This is the darkness that happens. It is real. You know, these news pundits out there and the a lot of the big media saying, Sound of Freedom, that doesn't happen. I was there, right? Now, yes, not everything happened exactly like the movie. That little boy coming across the border was years before the little girl in Colombia, and they weren't related, but he did have a sister that was missing. And they were taken in a very similar way. We took multiple real stories and put them together. Now, in the jungle, I didn't get shot at in the jungle. That was dramatization a little bit on the end part of that. And, we took other operators and things they did and put those all into the same storyline. But it's real nonetheless. That darkness exists. And parents ask, okay, I left the movie. What do I do? How do I help? What's next? Well, the worst thing that can happen is for somebody to decide they want to go be a Rambo and go undercover in some other country and find kids. No, we had very close relationships with the federal agents of those countries. It was very well planned out. Don't do that. The best thing that you can do, believe it or not, the best thing you can do is hug your kids. People are like, well, how's that going to help? Well, the majority of children that are trafficked today are not being abducted from an affluent neighborhood in a healthy family. Right? The majority of them come from a broken foster care program. They come from runaways. They come from broken families. They come from if a child is still in a family, it's a child who doesn't have a healthy relationship with the parents. The truth is, the majority of children who are sold for sex sleep in their own beds at night. That'll surprise a lot of people. They're like, what? No, I thought this was all kids that got abducted from one country and sent in container ships to another one. No, it's your babysitter. It's your sister-in-law. It's your uncle. It's their uncle. It's the neighbor. And if you have a relationship with your children that is such that your daughter can come to you and say, hey, Dad, I feel uncomfortable when you make me hug Uncle Harry. Or, when I go over to this friend's house, her brother hugs me really weird and his hand is, or he's showing me some pornography, or the babysitter says I should trust her more than you guys, and she's showing me some movies I don't feel comfortable. You need to have the relationship with your kids where those grooming tactics will come out very easily in your conversation with them, because that is where they're most susceptible. In fact, the reality is 1 out of every 4 women that you know right now, 1 out of every 4 women that's listening to this have been a victim of sexual violence as a child. And the average age that somebody comes out and says, hey, I was abused as a child, I was sold in this way, the average age is 52 years old. People are holding on to this trauma their entire life. For men, it's a little bit less. It's 1 in 5 at some time in their life. But even then, there's 25% of them, literally 200 million men in this world, that it was under the age of 10 years old, most of them in their own homes. So you've got generational trauma of per people who have unresolved trauma now, God bless them. The majority of those people, 2/3 of people who have experienced, here's my thing, 2/3 of those people who have experienced sexual trauma or other kind of child abuse, 2/3 of them grow up with a solid commitment. They will use that pain to ensure the innocence and the protection of children, and God bless them. But literally 1/3 of people who have experienced abuse as a child end up being contact offenders. So what do? Do we arrest them all before they ever do it? Or do we come from a place of compassion and say, okay, once you've crossed that line, you're going to jail, right? You touch a child. However, what if we had a time machine and went back before those traffickers ever did that? We would save all of those kids. We don't have time machines, but what we do have is hundreds of millions of people who we can help them shed their trauma. That 1/3 that could end up growing up to pass it on, and that's no excuse. But what if we could help them heal? That's what liberating humanity is all about. Now, yes, I know that a lot of your listeners are like, okay, let's get into the crime. Let's punch them all in the face. Let's shoot them all in the head, right? But the truth is, yes, we've got to fight fire with fire. Yes. When I'm undercover, I'm a sheepdog, right? I've got fangs that look as mean as the wolf, and I'm protecting those sheep. But what if we could keep the wolf from ever becoming a wolf? What if we could keep him far away? What if we could make it so that all of the children are rescued before they were ever trafficked? That's the riddle we have to figure out right there.
Thanks for joining us. Your attention today brings us one step closer to exposing and eliminating the evil that brings crime to our communities. Hit subscribe and share this episode. Together, we will bring justice to every victim.